Welcome to the Football Retro Podcast.
The word welcome, I guess, is stretching it a little when you're an Australian in a place like this today.
Hello and welcome to episode 30 of the Football Retro Podcast. I'm your host Johnny, and today as special guest I'm joined by Fatty and Harry. How you doing, guys?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Am I the special guest? Because you mentioned me first.
Nah, you're never a special guest. You're the one that's always here.
I'm the fucking EPL expert.
But you are special.
Thank you.
In his own little way.
Thank you, Harry. Good to see you again, Harry. After we haven't had Harry since episode 4.
It was episode 4, yes. We
What are
interviewed
we
Harry.
episode now?
30.
Now this
Are you
is
sure?
really retro, you know.
Yeah, 26 episodes.
episode ago.
Original.
So on episode 4 we spoke about your football career, your playing career. It's going to be a little bit different today. I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, for those obviously who haven't listened, go back to episode 4 before we were on video.
Spotify and YouTube, it's just his voice. It's just his soothing voice
Yeah.
getting you into your day. But today...
So this is the man behind the voice.
What a face. Before we get started, a big international week in football.
Yeah, big week.
Surprise results as well.
Lots of games been played. I think most teams played 2 games.
Yes.
Yeah, big results, big upsets. Biggest, obviously, we'll talk about was Macedonia beating Germany in Germany.
Sorry, North Macedonia.
North Macedonia. Fucking what a... Again, this is my problem on this podcast. I always have an issue with the Balkan countries. Harry, obviously, with Balkan descent. But the issue is they just keep chopping and changing. They identify as different things. Like, fuck. It's too much.
When you need to borrow the money, and then it seems like a business that doesn't work good. You tear it apart and open another business.
Oh, so it's like having a new name.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You go bankrupt, you start again.
Yeah. But it's always with birth, deaths and marriages, right? It's always registered there, like known formally as whatever. So it's like former Yugoslav Republic.
Anyway,
always gonna be there.
North Macedonia beat Germany 1-0.
North Macedonia beat Germany 2-1.
2-1 it was actually.
2-1. Big result. They were winning 1-0, and Germany got a penalty, equalised 1-1, and then North Macedonia snuck a late win. I think it was 80th minute or something around there.
Didn't
Germany.
Goran Pandev score one of the goals?
Goran Pandev scored the first goal.
Still
That
going
guy's
around.
been around for... How long has he been around for? You would know.
2010.
It was almost picked by Wanderers, wasn't it?
Yeah, Pandev.
Everyone was.
Yeah.
Everyone's linked to Wanderers.
So was Michael Ballack. There you go.
Yeah.
There's a Macedonian and a German together.
Riquelme, Saviola, all linked to Wanderers early on. So North Macedonia beat Germany. Who did South Macedonia play against?
Apparently it doesn't exist, according to our resident Balkan expert, which I asked him off camera. I said, is there a South Macedonia? No. Is there a normal Macedonia? No. So why is it just North?
I don't get into other countries' politics.
But it's your country.
I'm a person that loves everyone, so I accept them.
That's a very that's very PC of you.
That's not what you said off camera. That's not what you said off camera.
Maybe you need to talk to, call in onto Macedonian politics special resident or something to explain to you.
That's okay. We'll give him one more beer and 30 minutes on camera, and he'll be talking shit about everyone.
But in other results, yeah. Spain, obviously, there was some results that weren't as surprising. Spain beating Kosovo, again, another Balkan village. Big fuck up there. Kosovo scored a goal from almost halfway. Keeper, I don't know, ended up halfway up the field for some reason. I'm not sure why. Italy's been doing really well in qualifiers. They've been smashing it. Very consistent. England won both their games as well, but not as convincing in the second game. So, I don't know. They'll qualify, but the way they're going, it's just not convincing. Italy's the only one that's been really convincing from the big teams. Germany, obviously, as we said. Then you've got the minnows, like your Faroe Islands, your San Marinos, and all those sort of teams.
So Spain came from a draw against Greece as well.
Well, apparently for Greece, that counts as a win.
They're asking for a star on the jersey after that. After the draw. That's how big it was for Greece, apparently.
Yeah. So Greece.
Well,
Greece
it's another former Republic of Macedonia.
There we go. There it was. It didn't take you very long, Harry. How long have we been in the episode now? 7 minutes? 6 minutes?
No, 4.5.
4.5 minutes. There you go. Greece drew with Georgia, 1-1. So yeah, the groups are looking interesting, but a lot of qualifiers. There's obviously African qualifiers as well going on.
South Americans were meant to go on, but the clubs in Europe would not release the players to travel to South America because of COVID. so everything's suspended to later in the year.
So what? They're just letting them play in Europe and Africa.
Yeah, but they're not letting them travel to South America.
For example, Mo Salah's played for Egypt. They beat Comoros 4-0 the other day. He scored 2 goals. So he went all the way to Egypt to play. There's a lot of shit happening there, COVID-wise.
I don't know what the details
It's
are.
funny. I don't know why how they justify.
Maybe he had a vaccine.
Doesn't mean shit. Don't get into that topic now because there's a lot of bullshit we can just talk about. Akram's not here today.
He'll be triggered right now.
Fucking of course. But the best thing is he can't say shit. Thanks, Akram.
Yeah, so international football back to Premier League, back to La Liga this weekend.
Yeah, normal football resumes this weekend. I've got plenty of tips for you guys, but unfortunately this episode's not going to be out in time. Mo, David Mersey, I'm talking to you fuckers, so you're not going to get my tips this week, unfortunately. Actually, there's 2 games that you will make, but they're not really solid tips. I'll have to do a little bit of research towards the end of the episode.
We'll get into that. Alright, Harry. So, like I said, episode 4, we spoke about your playing career. You came from Croatia to Australia to play in the NSL. But what a lot of people don't know, especially those who listen to the episode and only know you from that episode, is that apart from the player, there's Harry the fan. Obviously, football is a big part of your life. Football is not just a sport that you play or a job, as many footballers see it, but it's a passion. It's something that it's a culture. It's family. Tell us, since when you were a kid, since when you first started, when you kicked your first ball, how it all started and how football became part of your life.
But look, since I was born, I never knew for any other club, all colour than blue and Dynamo. And nobody in my family, like you just didn't talk about anyone. And in a house where there was like 60 of us living, my uncle supported a club called Zagreb. Because he thought, you're born in Zagreb, you follow Zagreb.
Yeah.
Dynamo was equally, you're born in Zagreb, you follow Zagreb, you know, but it was more political because it was the only club during those days that would still hold, you know, Croatian checkers, so it was a bit more to, you support Dynamo, you're Croatian, you're like,
Yeah.
there was a lot of political stance behind it. Just to tell you how serious people take football, we lived in the same house, door to door. His one was going down in the basement, I was going up. Dynamo beat Zagreb 7-0. If they beat them only 3-0, they would still stay in the first division, but we beat them 7, so they were like relegated. He didn't speak to me ever after. That's it. We were dead. I was only a
Is
kid.
it blood family?
Well, my uncle, you know, so my mom's sister's husband. Loved me before it. After that, he would not talk to me or my father, like as if we bloody scored any of the goals. Like, yeah, it's you know, and the only, as a kid, the only present I ever wanted was either Dynamo jersey, soccer ball, or runners. You could bring me the best bloody, I don't know, computer or some shit. We didn't have computers at the time.
I was about to say,
Yeah.
fuck.
So what you would say is typewriters. Best typewriter or T-Rex in the area.
It wouldn't work, you know, Walkman or some shit, like the best thing at the time.
Yeah.
It was just not going to work for me, you know, so it was, football was, and you know what, in a suburb where I come from, a lot of kids, because of football, maybe didn't end up in prison or didn't end up, I mean, look, a lot of, Johnny, you would know, in South America, it's a lot of the times, a lot of areas, it's like that too. Unfortunately, a lot of the times it's the privilege game as well, where kids that can afford will go a bit further than the others, because once you get to a certain level, you know, money starts playing the part.
Yeah.
You know, but I had a chance to go play for Hajduk, but support Dynamo, man.
Big
Like, as a
rival.
kid, but
Yeah.
as a kid, you know, I didn't sign for Dynamo. I had a chance to go Hajduk. Well, I went to like second division again to play for my club, Rudeš, rather than go to Hajduk.
Wow.
You know, like,
Rather than playing the first
stupid.
division.
Kids, like, especially in Australia, because the culture doesn't exist, kids don't get that. Like, I know Sydney FC young kids who play for Wanderers. I know Wanderers fans who play for Sydney FC. They don't see it like that. They see, opportunity for me to get to the top. But everyone's comfortable, and that passion / hatred towards someone else doesn't really exist here to the level that we know it and experience it.
Well, look at this. Just recently, Kranjčar died. You know, he was the only player I ever asked for autograph. He was also a coach of Croatia. When he was asked back in the after the '82 when Dinamo wiped the league, probably the only time I remember during Yugoslavia,
Wiped it off money, or?
just smashed it, like they just smashed everything, you know. And they asked him, "Are you gonna go to Red Star?" He goes, "Come on, bro, I'm like from Zagreb, you know, like I'm born here. I belong to these streets. I'm not going nowhere." You know, like players don't do that anymore.
No.
You know,
Definitely
Australia
not.
especially. I know that it would happen in, you know, South American countries. You would have some of the players that might reject and go play to another team. In Europe would happen as well. Not everyone. A lot of the, you know, maybe your local boys, like, I can't imagine Gerrard playing for anyone else but for Liverpool at the time, once he became. But Australia, I don't know. Australia's a little bit different, you know. Like, I don't think there's a soccer culture is not. If there was something, maybe kids back in the day used to, you know, every Italian followed Marconi, every Croatian in Melbourne followed Melbourne Knights here, Sydney Knights.
But see, that's the thing as well. I mean, that happened. It was like that back then in the old NSL days because of the culture, or a lot of people that came and played it was a refugees game, right? It was,
and every club was linked. Most clubs were linked to a heritage as well.
correct, but it's a game that was linked to people who come from other countries or you had another background. It wasn't you know, true blue Aussie game, and you know. We look at you know, all the references back in the day, and from the 70s and 80s it was frowned upon, and even Australia making the 74 World Cup and Rally Rasic, you know, coaching, people didn't like, they sacked him. Why? Because he was a wog. I believe that was part of the reason. But anyway, beside that, it's different here. We touched on this previously in many episodes, but overseas it's a way out from poverty. It's a life or death thing. Whereas here it's not. Like you said, oh, so what? You know, you play here, you play there. Opportunity comes, you can make it to this, make it to that. People will go. Whereas Harry just gave a perfect example. Opportunity came from him playing the first division. It didn't align with his values, so he didn't go. Or it didn't align with that loyalty, right? So
trust me, knowing life now, and I went back, I would have taken it. You know what I mean? So I think sometimes, you know, you shoot the kid in the foot. So in a way, you know, I mean, look, the soccer career is very short. Yeah. You know, so I think the kids should take the opportunity when they can. But at the same time, you know, like.
So if your daughter wanted to start playing for Sydney FC Women's, you'd allow her, and you'd go support. If your daughter wanted to play football and she said Sydney FC Women's came,
she's not playing soccer, football.
And you'd have to be in the stands wearing a Sydney FC jersey supporting.
Oh, I wouldn't wear it. I would let her play it there, but I would not support the team. So that's a difference.
But you have to catch a train by yourself.
I'll even drop her off, but I'll be sitting on the other side. So
but that doesn't exist. I mean, A-League players change clubs. How many times?
Oh yeah, like it's nothing. You have
like,
players that have been played almost every club.
But tell me one player that's really loyal to a club. Like say Terry McFlynn, that's not by choice. That's because no one else will take him. I'm thinking. I reckon Mitchell Duke, if Sydney FC came and gave him $2 million, he would go. Yeah. Berisha went to different clubs. Melbourne City and Victory changed players. We've had goalkeepers between Sydney FC and Wanderers.
Goalkeepers, we had players as well. Don't forget, Mark Bridge was ex-Sydney FC. Had Brendan Santana was ex-Sydney
Popovich.
FC.
Yeah, but that was before we existed, though.
No, let's be fair. Let's listen to, like, even when what Harry's saying, after you had Alex Bomjohan, whatever.
Yeah, Bomjohan
change over. Yeah. Ibini played for both.
Yeah.
Like, there's not that I'm staying here no matter what. That doesn't exist here. And on the other hand, what you said about players having a career choice here in this country, it's not like you said. It's not a matter of if I don't make it. Over there, they think I need to make it for my whole family, and this is the only way my family could survive if I make it to football. So it's the sacrifice of players having to walk. Suarez walked an hour and a half each way to training when he was 14. Tell me one kid that will do that here. Tell me one kid that would do that here.
Yeah, but you learn to love. First, you love the game and the club or team. Then you know, because of particular player, you want to be one. You know, I want to be these guys because you idolize them. I mean, all my family played football, so I was just thrown into it. But it was Dinamo was everything. You know, you go like Sunday, you go to church, lunch, and then if they were playing away, you know, my father by that time stopped traveling, so everyone on the radio on the street, you know, listening to shit, celebrating like we saw it happening. but if they were playing at home, we were at the game.
Yeah.
Like, there was no. What do you mean,
And that's
Dad?
the-
You didn't buy a ticket.
And that's the difference here, I think, as well, with that culture. The going to the game was part of supporting and part of being a team. Whereas now it's very easy. I think it comes with the times as well, and technology and advancements, and everything's being available at a touch of a fingertips. So yes, times, the era plays a factor in that, but people are not as keen to go to games now.
And
COVID
I don't
aside,
understand that, and I don't
people are
understand
not
that.
keen to go and experience the game firsthand because they think, I can get a better view at home. I can see replays. I
But
can
what
do
about the
this and that.
atmosphere? What about
But
being
yeah,
close
but we
to
touched
your-
we touched on this when we're comparing to American sports and American culture.
Yeah.
Here, as well as America, going to an event is like entertainment. You don't go
Yeah,
there because
yeah,
it's in your blood. It's because it's a show. It's something to do. Let's go
Yeah.
watch our team. It's not a culture thing like it is overseas. And I know we've been spending all this time comparing what overseas and Australia's like, but it's because we've experienced both, and we wish that here it got to the point where we were overseas. And for us, the Wanderers for us was starting to do that, and it got stopped short because of external factors. If we get into it today, we'll be here an hour and a half talking about that. Maybe we could do a different episode on that.
But it's just that people are thinking Australia takes sport differently. Like they don't understand that.
Yeah.
See, when I was going as a kid, I remember watching like the stadium used to be like sporadic. Just somebody would scream Dynamo, everyone follows. But then as I was growing, I started seeing that these groups started organizing themselves. So they started becoming, everyone was always trouble on the north side of the stadium at the time. They were still not called Bad Blue Boys, but they were young kids who were like, Dynamo, and I know they were always against Yugoslavia at the time and communism. So a lot of the times in a European or South American football or any football, it's not always just about this is your voice. So
Yeah.
usually on the stadium you get a voice of people. This is where I can show you that I don't agree with either politics or either. So it wasn't just football always.
Yeah.
So football is a reflection, and I've heard this many times, is a reflection of society.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like you said, the political, not political messages, it can happen, but it's the socio-economic, how are you living your life. That weekend is your expression. Like swearing at a referee, you're not only swearing at the referee, you're releasing that anger from the week, from work, from the stresses, it's a release for a lot of people.
But you know what I noticed as well? Here, the way they look at it, let's look at Argentina. You guys are especially populated, for example. You would have, one or two clubs. They would be like in Belgrade, 500 meters apart, two different clubs,
Yeah.
Partizan and Red Star. You would have how many in Buenos Aires or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
all these. But you belong to this area, and this is my club. And like in Zagreb, Dinamo was the one. But we followed Cibona at the time with Petrovic. There was Zagreb for handball, water polo, hockey. We were at the games constantly because we followed anything. I mean,
Yeah.
it was always Red Blue Boys, so we came from soccer. But this was also part of it. This is from your city, so it was. The games to us were more like even when soccer happens or football. It's a two games. The one that they play and then the ones that you as a supporters play. I need to out-sing you. Doesn't matter if my team wins, but we were shit. We were all disappointed. And that's what I couldn't understand. Like, for example, here, active. It's meant to be active. So the whole idea is you coming there, you do your job. You out-sing the
But
opposition.
you try to implement the mentality here, and people get it, but a lot of people, once again, it's entertainment, it's fun, yeah, come sing, but I don't want to get that as involved as
But
you.
there's also an element of pride there in what you're saying. So
absolutely.
you said you go and you're supporting water polo and you're supporting every other sport that's within your region because you're trying to represent the area that you're from. There's pride in where you come from, whether it's good or shit. This is my area, and I'm going to support it and represent it. And that's why it transcends sport. It's not just football, all the other sports. Again, we're not going to keep bashing, the culture in this country because obviously there's not that hardcore mentality or, there's not a need for it. And that's probably why it doesn't happen.
There's not a
because
need,
it's not a
look,
need.
and no one's asking for it to go to the extreme. Like I remember in the mid '90s when I was a kid in Argentina, Boca played against River Plate at Boca Stadium. River won 2-0. I remember Ortega scoring a goal, and Boca went and killed 2 of River fans. Like no one's asking for it to go that far,
I'm not
and
talking
no one wants it to go that way. But
Are you sure?
burn someone's house. Moment, but you don't need to kill somebody.
but the passion side of things. Let me take you back, Harry. Let's talk about. Let's pretend that no one that's watching this show right now knows what Bad Blue Boys are or what the culture's like. Take us back to the beginning when you were a kid. How did you get involved with the group? How did you get involved in the organisation?
I was a ball boy for Dynamo, and the only time you could be a ball boy if you, in your age, you play well, then your reward is you can collect the balls at the game.
Yeah.
And one of particular games, then I don't know why we would change from the north to the east, and the away fans used to be on southeast, so it was just a little fence in between, And that game, for some reason, they didn't manage to bring no flares, nothing in. And as I was coming in, this guy came to me. He goes, you a ball boy? I go, yeah. He goes, bring this bag and just chuck it over the fence. Don't ask, don't do nothing. So I went in without being,
Checked.
checked, nothing. Yeah, just walk where the kids are walking in. So through that, that became easier for them,
Was it
So now
initiation?
all of a sudden I became the mule, like bring this in next week too, Look, it was always cool to watch those guys, they were singing and flares were coming up and, they were cool.
Yeah.
But you never think you're gonna be there because you're on this side, till you feel the bug till you're in it. So anyway, one of the games, instead of bringing me the bag, the guy goes, look, next home game, we want you with us. Come try, meet the boys.
How old were you at this stage?
14.
14.
Yeah. And you don't meet the boys. You just meet whatever they allow
Some
you to
on the
meet.
fringes, yeah.
Like the lowest come, like other mules,
The
And
bottom of
anyway,
the ladder, yeah.
Yeah, we were playing partisan, man. And, I went in with them and I was all excited, and like I wore my jersey that I was playing in, so we were not, when I was going, or my group, we were not, any of these, Fred Perry's and all that shit. We were just more ultra, so if you can wear any of the Dynamo. We used to rob, like after the games, that when they washed the jerseys and that, like on a Tuesday, they'll be there, so we go run over and steal it, But in that game anyway, but I don't know, mid-second half, massive trouble, man, with the cops. So cops ran in, started banging everyone up front. I was pretty small when I was 14, I wasn't overly big, nothing, just started developing. And you know how cops just hit everyone up front?
Yeah.
I somehow ended up front. And I kid you not, I turned around and I was trying to push myself in, but I was just too weak. I got beat up. I was purple. I came home, I was shaking, I was crying, temperature, I swear to myself, I'm never going to go to the game again. And I didn't for, a few rounds. Anyway, that same guy turns up. He goes, what happened? We can't see you at the game. So I go, man, I got beat up, bro. Like, I'm still purple, And he goes, but you didn't run. I go, I did. I wanted to run. I just couldn't. He goes, nah, don't worry. It's not always like that.
Harry. Never run, never will,
And
man.
and then I started going again, and then you slowly start learning and sense when something's going to happen and meeting the boys. I started taking actually over my life, So you started... I got into this group where our job was to organize, like all the boys would go, we need so many flares, so my job was to go get them. So we would organize trips to Italy, steal or go on the coast, to Rijeka, to Split, steal them off the boats, buy them, exchange them for whatever, Smoke bombs, we used to get all the eroticas, porn magazines, take them to the army barracks. And army guys used to give us smoke bombs for the bombs.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was like a barter system.
Yeah, you had to find it, because if you didn't, then you meet the older boys, not to have a nice chat, And then through going away to away games, that's how you progress. You don't just go and meet, oh, this is the guy. Many times you would talk to the guy about, so like me going, hey, I know Johnny, and you're Johnny. And I go, yeah, what do you know about? Oh, I know him, you know. Like, you got no idea who the fuck you're talking to,
Yeah.
you know.
It's
But it
interesting.
started taking over. Like, one of the banners that I personally met almost got kicked out of the school. It says, I love your mom, but no more than Dinamo. It's still there. Zagreb Avalanche, at the time, was one of the longest banners.
Well, I love your mum.
But no more than Dinamo.
If that banner was here in Australia, what would happen, Freddy?
Oh,
You have to get it approved by the FFA, by the
not
police, by the
approved.
club.
They're gonna talk about how it's disgusting. It'll be front page of the
Oh,
news
look, my mum
saying.
did get the shits a little bit, especially because, you know, she had to organize the ladies to sew it, and that was... that
You made her
wasn't-
sew her own.
That wasn't drawn. That was like I cut the material and then it was sewn, and you know, like I almost got kicked out of school because I didn't go to school for a couple of weeks. That was for 5 years of Red Blue Boys, 90, yeah, you know, just before the war, and nobody they couldn't turn up, you know, so it was terrible. But we still had the banner, you know. So
Wow.
it's going to away games was a must, you know, more riskier there.
How would you travel?
But at first, we used to get, you know, well, everything was by train. So, and the way the train lines used to be, you go in Zagreb Split, but you had to go through Bosnia, you know. So by the time the train comes to Split, there's no one window left on it because every town you stop, you're getting bombarded with the rocks. So as you come, like my first away game, you're going on to train and you see all these older guys in their bags full of with the rocks or something, you know, just for defense, you know, so you can throw something back. Like I was going, why? What's going on? Like, you watch, you'll see. And
Wow.
like, you know, as
And
you
is
go,
that more a political thing, like because they didn't like, for example, Croatian team coming through or whatever, and it just that's
there was.
Yeah.
Look, I think on those, you know, in Yugoslavia at the time, there was a lot of that.
yeah.
But look, I mean, us and Hajduk, I mean, we were both Croatian, but for a long time, I was running in Split, and, you know, they've got these little motherfucking streets, you know, and you get in and you don't know where the fuck you are.
Yeah.
And anyway, 4 of us, we got chased and ran into this thing, and, you know, you're going between these streets, and then it just came to a wall, and we had nowhere to go. And we thought, anyway, we'll just sit down and be quiet. Next thing you know, this fucking boiling water gets poured on us. But the old lady, like a fucking grandma,
Fuck,
you know,
yeah.
because the whole Dalmatia hates everyone else but fucking Hajduk. So if you get stuck, you're getting done. No matter is it grandpa, grandma, auntie, uncle, or little baby, you have to be careful. You know, like it's that's
Wow.
how it's taken seriously. You know, you come into my city, you're gonna behave like I tell you to behave. It's incredible. Look, we experience a little bit here, you know, and it's an adrenaline. It's about friends being together, and you know, it wasn't always. You know, there was teas as well, and we get beat up. You don't always win, you know.
Of course not.
But
Yeah.
you know, there was some, and the characters you meet. You just think, can they exist really? You know, it's like La La Land. But you know, we would miss school. I wouldn't eat lunches at school, so mom used to give me. It was then dinner still. You know, 10 dinners for sandwich at school. So you go to school, not just that you don't eat, you still keep, you know, asking for more money around. So by Saturday, hopefully you'll have enough to get on the train. But then when you're on the train, if the game is on Sunday and you're traveling on Friday, even if you get kicked out a few times along the way, it doesn't matter. You know, like, they were not arresting so much. Police too, if they get you, they'll beat you up rather than arrest you and go with the paperwork.
Yeah.
So it was a bit simpler, you know, maybe crueler, but simpler. You know, and yeah, and then you travel.
Did you fight back to the police when they try to beat you up?
But you try, yeah, absolutely. Sometimes you win when it's more guys, when it's less guys, you don't win. The worst is when they used to, you know, when I was first time arrested, you know, and always the older guys used to say, look, when they take you to the station, just, you know, as soon as you're in the hallway, start screaming, you know, get attention of all the people around, you know. Anyway, so I got dragged into a station one time, and I'm screaming the ass off, you know, and this copper goes to me, you're an absolute idiot. I go, what do you mean? He goes, fucking it's Sunday, man, there's no one here. You know, it's just us, you know, whoever was on duty, you know.
It didn't work.
Then you go, okay.
Did you cop an extra beating for that one?
You know, the beatings were funny, you know, they used to
Funny.
get the parents and like jab it into you, like under the ribs.
Sounds hilarious.
Nah, but they wouldn't just like, because less bruises, but more pain was good. They used to, in Rijeka, they used to ask us how you want it, you know? Do you want it on a how do you call it, on the sole of your feet, or do you want to be hit like with the hand? But then they hit you like with two.
On your ears, yeah.
Yeah, like they were dirty, you know. But while you're learning at the beginning, you think you're clever.
Yeah.
So you're asking for like, oh, hit me on the soles of the feet. Mate, you can't walk for weeks.
Yeah.
You know, so like once you learn, then you just say, just
So
do what
they,
you want.
they
Man.
even gave you an option. How would you like to get beat up?
Yeah, but look, cops were never responsible for anything. So there were a lot of, you know, yeah, kids used to get badly injured by cops too. I mean, they had all the power. But the thing was that, I don't know, is it different mentality or what? Like, you know, or maybe we just learned to know each other a bit more. People will stick up for each other. You know what I mean? So you're not going to just let him be dragged out. I mean, I don't know if you saw one of the videos. I think it was Woke Up when this kid was being dragged by cops, and then just everyone just attacked him and dragged him out. I mean, he still had the handcuffs. I don't know what they've done with it, but, you know, they took him away. And that's what I find, I don't know, different. It's just, you know, it becomes different. This group is now you.
Yeah.
Different social status. Some very rich kids were there, but they would share with you who had nothing. You know, like, you would go there with no money, you would still eat, you would still get drunk. Sometimes, you know, they were stealing and, you know, but like,
Yeah. But there's a sense of camaraderie, there's belonging, there's like a brotherhood, so you look out for your own sort of thing.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
So Hajduk obviously is your biggest rival.
But now it is. But look, even back then, like my godson, he's, you know, Torcida. And,
Which means Hajduk.
he goes
Which
to
is like-
Hajduk, yeah. So
Hajduk fan
you
group.
know, when you know, on our weekends that Hajduk Dinamo play, we stay against, like, away from each other. Otherwise, you know, his group might get me. You know what I mean?
But,
Yeah.
but what I mean is, when you know that fixture against Hajduk is coming up, is it special for the Bad Blue Boys? Is it like something that's big coming up, like Derby here, or
Is there preparations and that
Look,
leading up to the
you
game?
know, I mean, you would find out which way they travel, because you're trying, first of all, you're trying to disrupt their enjoyment, you know, so you'll try and get them somewhere earlier, or, you know, hopefully you get some of the top boys and whatnot, steal some banners so you can burn them on the stadium. Like, it was, you know what, I think what started as more just as a trophy taken and that, then it started becoming, I mean, now I wouldn't do it because I think kids are getting stabbed, kids are like, it's taken, you know, away from what I kind of thought that it was about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, mate, you know, you're playing Hajduk, we're preparing a couple of weeks ahead. You know, make sure you, because look, Torcida always traveled well, for example, and even on away games, they'll come in numbers, they'll do a good pyro, so you have to have a better pyro. You have to have, maybe Bad Blue Boys, we were not huge on choreography back those days, but yeah, we loved to do the fire and whatnot. But the main thing was to disrupt them coming to city, so you tried to do ambushes all over the place. And we would travel kilometers outside Zagreb just to wait for them. You know, day earlier too, doesn't matter. You know,
Ah.
it's,
Yeah, see, it becomes a whole game. It's
is.
that sense of loyalty. It's a cat
It
and
is.
mouse thing. It's a thrill of getting one up on the opponent. That
always,
yeah, that's the biggest
so
problem, I think.
hypothetical here? Say you and Torcida boys and Bad Blue Boys were going at each other, and police come rushing in. What happens?
But look, few times in my days we would tell and go on to police.
So,
You know.
so both Torcida and Bad Blue Boys to get out turn, stop fighting each other, and turn on the police.
But it was also in that first year that we were, you know, we were still at that time on East, and, you know, they were on Southeast. So it was one of my earlier games as well. Like when I just started, we were playing Hajduk. And I mean, whoever put us like that close was absolute idiot. And then, you know, concrete, you know, grandstands, everyone's breaking the edges, you know, that was flying. So ideally you want to be as close as you can to the fence, because all the ones at the back keeps getting the rock in the head, you know. Yeah, and then I think the fence got like slightly broken, you know, and people could kind of start grabbing each other, and then the police rushed in. Everyone turned on the police. They forgot about their own now. Now it's the coppers, like, you're spoiling our fun now.
Yeah.
Like it's funny like that, eh? But they were the
My
common
enemy's
enemy.
enemy is.
Yes, they were common enemy, But look, in all honesty, look, I know you need to stop, behavior like that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, the cops used to go over, the top with,
Well, I imagine that the same way it was a game for you guys, it's part of a game for them as well. Like the cops would have this culture of aggressiveness, of violence. So in a way, it is the job, but at the same time,
It's also
I wouldn't be surprised if after, did you see how I got the fan? Did you see how I hit that guy?
Oh, absolutely.
So, like,
yeah.
it's-
because it's also an outlet for them, right? Whereas in a normal circumstance, police would not be able to behave in that manner. In a situation like this, where there's a large group or a fight or a brawl or whatever, it's a bit easier to sort of get away with that and let out that frustration. We've seen that firsthand here in this country on a few occasions. So you realise that they also try to let out, just like we go and let out a frustration, or we used to do certain things. The same thing happens with there, so it can't be denied that it's not the case.
And look, and that's why, like, if you really want to compare here and over there, like, people think that we are over-policed when we've got 30 policemen on the stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, over there, it's like bloody. You think it's I don't know, Joe Biden coming over. Let's protect the country.
I get it. I get what you're saying, Harry. In regards to numbers, yes, but the over policing over there is there's lots of numbers that just watch you and let you do what you do and sit back. Whereas over here, you might have less numbers compared to over there, but if you stand up on a chair, they come in and bring you down. So the over policing is not so much the numbers, but it's more the
What it
actions.
is, yeah.
But look, I think that over there, over time, and this is where I find Australia in general, in many ways, either naive or just don't give a shit. I mean, obviously
Or a
they were
combination of
panicking.
both.
Yeah, they were panicking when all of a sudden these supporter movements started happening all over the place.
Yeah.
But surely you can maybe go and speak to English, speak to European police. How do you deal with them?
Yeah.
Here they just thought, let's pepper spray everyone, get them off the chair. More you fiddle with it. So look, we were never allowed to. One stage there were so many flares, and they were all thrown in a field that then they came up with the law. All right, burn them in the stadium, just don't throw them on the field. But then big orgy started, and everyone started burning all over the stadium. Now it wasn't anymore. You want to do 20? Now it was, if it's not 200, shit. So again,
It's always about
give you a finger, we're gonna take a hand.
It's always about pushing the envelope,
Yeah, the
taking
boundaries.
taking more that
But
you can.
then also they were not making any money anymore. Because what we would do, like, the deal was, let's not stop a game. So you would do it maybe when they're coming out. Yes, it take them forever to start the game, but you're not gonna really, do it during a game. But then obviously either they were not making enough money because of, nobody was getting punished. So a game started, and it's like people here think, oh, this is not Europe where it's allowed. It's never been allowed. Just people don't give a shit, man. I'm celebrating. I'm gonna do it, and you do it, and then, but and it's look. Now they also have cameras and that, but like the difference was that police had to choose. Am I gonna come for this one flare because I will have this rat of 5,000 fans on me?
Yeah.
Am I gonna be overly policing?
Yeah, it's about
So they
it's
had
about
to learn.
picking as well. Yeah, when it's necessary and when it's not.
And look, there have been a few times. I was already here, and there was a game, Dinamo Hajduk, and just in a city, they were protesting against government, and it was like major shit. So something had to happen in the stadium, so nobody talks about that. So police just started hammering Bad Blue Boys, and somebody shot a rocket, went under the helmet into police, got his eye out and whatnot, and then they arrested the first kid, and he's now in prison. No proof, no nothing. It's you, boom. Like. You know what I mean? Like, but something had to happen, so nobody talks about what's actually happening in the city. So police would be used like that, and a lot of the time, supporters will escape they never liked us at the beginning. Nobody, stadium, nothing. But then when we would do something good, or like just before the war, like against Red Star, all of a sudden we were heroes. Now, during all these, earthquakes and that, while the government was going to come and help the hospitals down, but Blue Boys were there taking the babies out, and putting them in a car and taking them to another hospital. Now, the recent earthquakes, when they happened in Slavonia part, Torcida was there, all the hooligan groups were there, building shit, bringing stuff, while the government is still thinking. So, we're going to have a go at each other, but still, the guys do protect, us.
Were there, obviously with the trains and the outside and the streets, were there many incidents inside the stadium in regards to fights, in regards to jumping on the field, in regards to that stuff?
Look, when I first started, that was like a major thing, like you would always, every game you would have someone like, especially on away game to bring your flag to the middle and you bow to your flag while they can't, and that was like one of the major shit. I never attempted that, but like...
Why not?
I don't know, but they just, you always had someone who would attempt that. That was like one thing. Apart, when they moved us back to the north, we were just too far from it. The major one incident was against Red Star, but usually it would happen before. If it is during a game, it's with the police, And let me tell you, sometimes the games were like we would play some, I don't know, somewhere in Bosnia team that nobody gave a shit about. So what are you gonna do? You pick on the police. You'll do something.
You're gonna make your own fun.
Yeah. Which was a lot of the time not fun, because our numbers were not great at those games sometimes, and you're probably not gonna win, but
So it had to be done.
I don't know if it had to be done. It would just be done.
In hindsight, it didn't have to be done.
How did the war impact on the football, on the fans? I can imagine that you, correct me if I'm wrong, but you would have fought side by side with Hajduk.
Oh yeah. Well, the unit I was with, they were mostly like Hajduks. But see, I had my Bad Blue Boy thing on the uniform. They would have the Torcida thing. The war itself, when you're in shit together, that doesn't really matter, I just never, like, after all that, I kind of wasn't anymore into that, and, well, I wasn't even long. As soon as the war finished, my contract finished, I was in Australia, so I didn't have too much. There were kids going to the games during, war happening, but I wasn't really, they were fighting because our president decided to call Dinamo Croatia, and people didn't like it, so now you've got a new enemy, your president. So like, I don't know, I didn't agree with that name, just a Croatian bloody national team, not my club. But it just, the generation changed. I don't know. It's just different. I don't know. These kids are different. They've got a lot more resources. They're bloody rich too. A lot of the like top boys now are like sons of judges, and we had judges in our reporters as well, and then the cops, the good ones. But they are undercovers, helping us, giving us information. One radio station that was always like against the government. They gave us the rooms, to have our meetings and stuff like that. So we had support. We had support. One stage, even Zagreb in itself, they gave us the whole train. So it was Bad Blue Boys train. So when we would travel away, we had the train. Like ticket was like nothing, very little. Of course, it's only 5,000 people, whatever. 500 people can go on it. There was like 2,000, but who cares?
When you're talking about this and the peak of when you were Bad Blue Boys, what number are we talking about? 200, 300, 400?
Look, you always, I think there was probably about maybe 50 to, I don't know, maybe 70 of these older boys, which we used to call it like a first team, prva ekipa, and half of them you would not even know till you earn the right to know them. And then, like in my group, there was another maybe 2 or 3 groups of maybe 20, that was always at the game. Then you had these guys who would come, like top teams from all the other areas of Croatia that followed Dinamo, so, and then their representatives would kind of talk to these guys, what we're planning, what we're going to do. But look, I reckon like the good numbers, you knew you're always going to have a 500 that will not move. You know,
Jesus.
but on the big games,
yeah.
we're talking, you know, grandstand of a couple of thousand, 5,000, maybe 10,000.
But still, to have 500 solid boys, it's it's a big
enormous.
thing.
And that's all they did. You leave Dynamo, that's all.
That was my next question, because I know in South America, for example, the guys in charge, the top boys, it's a lot of money. I mean, it's business. We had the River Plate, the Boca. They make money, hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, with merchandise, with tickets, with entry to the stadium, with tours, with protection, with it's business, and that's why they fight. There's infighting, because if you take over, it's a lot of money. Was it the same over there, or was it?
Not at the time. At the time, it's actually now. That's where Mamic and, you know, they get in. But like at my time was more...
Mamic, you're referring about the...
Yeah, the Zdravko, the owner.
Yeah.
You know, Zoran was more just coach and just do what the brother tells him. But the during my time was more, you know, the first Paraguay keeper would get tickets maybe sometimes for the, you know, the game, away game, or Dynamo used to, you know, pay us lunch or something like that, the players. So it wasn't overly too much, but back like after the war, that started happening. You know,
Okay.
there were guys who got close to this Mamic, and Mamic used them as to do dealings for him.
Yeah.
You know, probably chasing money. A lot of them did work on as a bouncers. You know, but one of them just got done. Like, I don't know, he had like semi-trailer full of marijuana with Delia, fucking top boy. I mean, go from Red Star. I mean, go figure. You know, like
Money talks at the end of the
yeah,
day, right?
and he's one of the, like, he was one of the top men for Mamic. So, you know, who knows what kind of business Mamic was in apart from just selling Luka Modric, you know?
Yeah.
And that's
Selling
what people-
everyone.
That's what people hated. So now there is these groups, they were getting financial gains from, you know, leaking ass to president, rather than opposite. Like in Argentina, for example, president has to leak the ass of the ultras because they're just so much power.
Well, there's votes, there's voting power. There's
Yeah, of course.
how many times you see in a stadium the groups chanting against the president, or chanting
Yeah.
to sort of get him out of the way, because the other guy's paying him to sort of
Oh,
push.
yeah, over there they can chant all they want. Then Mamic go just go take them. This is where they live. Take them. Like, you know, that guy had absolute power. So like it was different, but now it is a lot more. And you know, they've got their fan. Like when I was there, we just started with the fan club, and it was more just to organize cheaper tickets and stuff like that. But now they've got, you know, merchandise and that. Like, it's probably not as big as, you know, either Europe or whatever, and especially because of, for example, you know, because of that infighting. Well, I mean, Torcida saved bloody Hajduk a couple of years ago from bankruptcy.
Financially, wow.
Yeah. I mean, you know, selling all sorts of shit. The whole split got together and got them the money.
Wow.
I don't know how long that's gonna last, but yeah, you know,
That's
the
massive.
supporters got with the money. You know.
You can never see that happening here. Ever. Ever.
But look, you
different.
go through, if you look at photos, you know, in Zagreb or Split, you enter Zagreb, you'll tell you this city is protected by, not by the police, it's by Bad Blue Boys. So anywhere you go, even the trams, they've got symbols of Dynamo around. But every suburb on entry of it, it's, you know, Bad Blue Boys, Rudish, you know, or whatever you were famous for, a banner or whatever you made, it's there. Split, same thing. I mean, you're walking on a main river, all the lights have got bloody Torcida on it. You know, like,
It's
done by
territory.
city.
Yeah,
Nobody,
yeah.
you know, like, everywhere you go around, there's something for Hajduk. You know, like, it's a massive part, and that's what I find. That I understand that in Australia, soccer or football culture is not that big, but they're not like that for any sport.
Yeah.
That's true.
Apart from the guy that I just sold the house, he had full house of rabbit shit. And I asked him, can
Carrot?
we move the clutter? He wanted to kill me. He goes, it's not clutter. No, that's memorabilia. I go, it's just like a, you know, one of those, like a, the board, the result, how do you call it? How do you see a result, you know, 31 whatever.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, a scoreboard.
Scoreboard.
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
Shit is looks so crap. That's not memorabilia. That's just shit.
What is it, signed or
It's
some
got
shit?
a rabbit on it. No, it just had a rabbit. No,
Oh,
it was
okay.
signature.
Far
What
out.
was the relationship between the group and the club? I know you mentioned Mumage, but overall, especially your time when you were young, was there any communication back and forth? Was there agreements, arrangements? Did you ask the club for help? Did they ask you for help? What's it like?
We were totally separate. That's why I find, and look, and I don't think there's anywhere there is. I think that active support and the ultras in the world are kind of necessary evil. The clubs would rather not have them, but they need them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I mean, again, Wanderers first year, if there was no RBB, nobody would come to watch it. Half of them came to see who are these idiots chanting there. You know, in Croatia, the league is so shit. The only people are coming to watch is active support.
Mm.
I mean, apart from when Dinamo plays whatever Europa League, but you know, and so club needs them. You know, well, Dinamo Mami still tries to stuff him up, but you need those are the only guys that you have.
Yeah.
You know, so you need them. When I was growing up, they never wanted us there. But what are you gonna do? But see, this was a thing. Every kid, when you know, first you want to be a soccer player, then when you start going to school and girls and that, you want to be a bad blue boy. I didn't want to be no gothic or all that bullshit, man. The first money I earned, I bought a bomber jacket. You know, like, yeah, it was too big for me at the time, but I grew into it.
Mm.
You know,
Old
like,
school.
those are the first things, you know, like, you wear Dinamo jersey to a date, right? Like, you know.
To a date.
Yeah, like, what you know, she's like all dressed
Representing,
up, and
yeah.
you turn up with the jersey and a bomber jacket, like, you know.
Flex, that's some serious flex.
Nah, but like, it was like that. Like, you were proud to belong to these guys, you
Yeah.
know. Like, plus, you know, everyone likes to be, you know, regular people, you know, hooligans, you know. So there's a little bit
the level
that
of
too.
respect /
Yeah,
fear.
you know, but like,
Yeah.
you wanted to be the guy, but you couldn't pose either because the other guys would know if you're just posing, and then you're in trouble too because you're pretending to be something you're not.
Yeah.
You know, so it was that little bit of street. You couldn't just, I am, and then you're not. You know, that can also be dangerous.
Do you have any questions for Harry?
No, I was going to touch on, you know, obviously we're a football podcast. I wanted to know generally back then, you know, football, how it was at that time. I know Dinamo was always renowned for as a club that developed a lot of players, and you always sold a lot of players. Obviously now, in more recent times, we know that it was for the benefit of the president, because, you know, as we were discussing before, he was involved and he was the agent, he was the owner of the club, whatever. So there was always this backroom dealing, and you know, now, you know, recently we've seen that there's, you know, they're bringing up all the dealings and things that they're going to go to jail for and whatnot, and there's been a ruling that, you know, he's going to be jailed. Whether he is or isn't is another story, but it was interesting. What did the fans think of the fact that any young prospect, you mentioned Luka Modric before, but any young player that was developed there was sold? No one actually stayed in the league to develop or promote the league.
Yeah, that's, you know, the only thing that Yugoslavia had good was Yugoslavian league, because you had, you know, at least your top 4 teams, and then there were, you know, your Zvezda, Partizan, Hajduk and Dinamo, and then you would occasionally get Sarajevo, Željezničar, you know, these Minos, Velez, that would be top 8.
Yeah.
But no player, unless they turned 28 or had, I don't know how many games internationally, could leave the country. So the league was strong.
Yeah.
You know, now.
So that was a ruling that you had.
That was the
You
ruling,
couldn't
and
leave.
you had
You
to-
couldn't
yes.
leave the league if you were
Before
under 28.
unless you had so many, you know, international games already by then.
Okay.
Then, you know, like you did the service to the.
But then what that would do is force the player to spend their peak, almost the peak of their career in the league.
Absolutely. So that's why the league was good.
And they had a strong national team as well. When Yugoslavia
Yeah.
made the
Yeah.
semi-finals in
Not that
1990.
anyone supported it, but
So no one supported the Yugoslavian team of 1990 World Cup?
I guarantee you.
Why is that?
We played, you know what, we played Holland. The only player ever from Dinamo picked was Zayat. Then you got a bit of from Hajduk, and then everything else was either Partizan or Zvezda. Good or no, they were there. And look, there was always a lot of Yugoslavians, Bosnians, you know, they're like Nuchos, they were fucking, everyone loved them. But we played Holland in Zagreb, and we all turned our bomber jackets to orange, and that was, we could bring red, white, and blue, you know, cut all the stars out and all that shit. So to us, and then after that, Yugoslavia said never play Yugoslavian game in Zagreb, ever.
Wow.
Yeah, like Holland couldn't believe it. Gullit thought he was in Holland, you know, like it was perfect.
But the World Cup, 1990, was a strong team, semi-finalists. No one in Yugoslavia supported the team.
Well, they did, the Yugoslav, but I guarantee
So
you,
you don't-
Croatia, like especially Zagreb,
In Zagreb area, no.
no chance.
Okay.
It was like,
So you
Thank
wanted your national team to lose. You didn't care.
we never felt like that was our national team.
Well, 1998, you had both
98 is
Yugoslavia
different.
and Croatia in the World Cup.
That's
so.
true. 98 Croatia, Davor Šuker, led by Davor Šuker, they had a big tournament.
And Yugoslavia was in the tournament as
Yeah.
well. So
How did they do?
Wow.
Croatia was semi-finalist.
Yeah,
No, he's talking about Yugoslavia.
Yeah,
how
but
they
look,
do.
Oh,
this
that's
is the
not
thing.
here, I don't know.
But that's why I say I kind of understand what they were doing now, because look, Mamic knows. Like, look, I'm not defending the guy, but he did help a little bit to Dinamo where it is now. The league is too shit. So what's the point of keeping every talented kid here? Sell him overseas. You'll make some money. He'll probably develop better. It will be better for national team. You know that always somebody's gonna make money out of it. Might as well be him.
Smart.
You know, and
There's always those crooked personalities.
the
in-
league is shit.
Look
So
at
what
FIFA.
would you
I
do
mean,
with all those kids? They're gonna die in there.
all right, Harry, I'm going to give you a few minutes to have a think about any funny stories that come to mind. All right, so away trips.
Funny stories.
Away trips.
He needs more than a few minutes, surely.
No, I'm going to have a few moments here.
He's smiling. I can already tell.
Look
He's
at
got
the-
plenty
Just
already.
trying to translate it in English.
So, away trips in stadiums, in the group, whatever you can tell. Have a think about. Have you got your tips ready?
Mate, tips are very hard this week.
Okay, before
Episode will be out after most of the games are played. I'm not going to hear the end of it. There's a few boys. I'm not going to actually fuck you, Mo and David.
would you like a special release beforehand?
Boys, if you want a special release, then there's got to be a special tip.
Okay. Before we go ahead, a big special shout out to Mix and Izzy. They did a big mural at Ultra Football, amazing Maradona mural.
I saw that today,
Those
actually.
boys are talented,
I saw that today.
football
It was great.
related. They are good. Big shout out to Mix, Izzy, and everyone at Ultra
done,
Football
boys.
as well.
That's Ultra Football down at Alexandria, isn't
Great
it? Yes.
store, yeah. So once again, check it out, guys. Amazing. Fatty, your tips?
Tips. Well, look, it depends when this episode is going to be released. I've got a few tips. As we said, European football's back. I'm going to stick to EPL. 100% success rate. Thank you very much, everyone that was talking shit.
So just this is your first show ever watching, for the last few weeks, Fatty's been giving tips. So far, for Premier League, he's got 9 out of 9 correct. For La Liga, Serie A, and everything else, he's got 0. That's the best summary I can give you. Premier League is everything right. Everything else, he's got 0. So 100% to 0. Let's take the Premier League this week, Fatty.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, Johnny. I'm not going to dispute that.
All right, you know what? We'll release it on Saturday just for you. What do you think?
I think that's fantastic.
Done. Let's give me some tips.
All right, so I'll give you a couple of tips. Chelsea West Brom, Saturday night. The early game, for those that are going to watch. Very, very safe bet, Chelsea at home. I know there's been internationals and players coming back. West Brom, you wouldn't expect that they've had international players. Maybe for Scotland or some shit country like that, or Ireland. Who knows?
Shit country.
Whatever. They're not going to do anything. Point is, Chelsea at home, very safe, $1.22. Yeah, look, if you've built your account up to have tens of thousands of dollars, then I would put a lot of money on Chelsea. If not, if you're looking to turn over a small amount into big money, then it's not my tip of the week.
Okay.
But, Chelsea to win. Leicester Man City is a very interesting game. Man City are very, very short favourites away to Leicester. I'm not sure if Leicester are missing a lot of players or whatnot. Man City will have a lot of players coming back from internationals. In saying that, they're too short for my liking at $1.54 at Leicester.
So what do you say?
Leicester's paying $6.60 at home. to Man City. Man City's pretty much got the title sewn up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see them slipping up from here. How many games are we at now?
30, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be a catastrophe. They've got to lose absolutely every single game and hope that, mathematically it's very, very difficult for them to lose the title.
Give me the tip, buddy.
For me, Leicester City, double chance is my cheeky of the week.
Wow. How much is that paying?
If I'm not mistaken, it'll be around the $3 mark.
237.
Okay, close enough. That's my cheeky of the week. Leicester City double chance at home to Man City. Leicester City obviously chasing a top 4 berth and securing that. It's very tight at the top.
Wait, can I give a tip to everyone out there?
Here we go. What are you going to go?
So, double chance is 237.
Yep.
Plus 0.5, which is exactly the same thing, double chance, 237.5. So sometimes this is 2 or 3 cents bigger as well. So you got to look at both
Interesting.
markets.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Plus
That's a good
0.5
point.
is exactly the same, it's double chance.
For those who don't follow betting or don't understand, plus 0.5, it means that if it's a draw or Leicester City win, that they've got a half a goal advantage on the other team.
So half a goal gets added to the score
Correct.
after full time.
So if it's 0-0, then Leicester City technically win that bet for you.
That's right. Any last ones?
Newcastle Tottenham. Over 2.5 goals.
Okay, that's a
There'll
good one.
be a lot of goals in that game, I'm pretty sure. Harry Kane's back on form now. He's had a good couple of games with England. Tottenham, I feel like they've had a bit of a bad spell, but Mourinho needs to steady the ship. Not sure if they'll get the result. They should. Not sure if Korean Song Hungamong, whatever the fuck, is going to be back.
Son.
Like Tottenham. But over 2.5 goals, I believe, is $1.90. That's a good bet.
$1.90 is a good bet.
Yeah, over 2.5 goals.
So just to summarise, you've got Chelsea at home,
Yep.
Leicester double chance, and Tottenham over 2.5 goals in the game.
There's another game that's going to be played, obviously, which notably needs to be mentioned because it's a big game. Arsenal-Liverpool. Both teams have been, not too great. A lot of Liverpool players playing internationals. Mo Salah had to travel a big way, so I don't think it's going to be a very high-scoring game. Both teams haven't been doing well. So if you wanted to throw that on, I would go unders and goals.
I'll go yellow cards for that one.
You reckon? Interesting. Haven't gone a yellow card game for a while, actually.
So your 3 major bets here, we're looking at 544 roughly.
Yeah.
Odds.
I've always hovered around that mark, so
Okay. Let's see if they come off.
we'll see.
All right,
I'm
before
going
we
to lose
go.
my 100% record this weekend.
No, they will lose all our attendance, our viewers. I want to grow to someday be like RBTV.
RBTV.
Hopefully one day we'll get to the stage where Stos can teach us the way.
Yeah. Sorry, Stos. We're not at your level yet,
I know,
unfortunately.
the master.
Or at Greece's level.
Harry. Look at your face. I'm a little bit scared right now.
I'm just thinking,
I'm a little bit
should I
scared.
embarrass myself or not, but I will.
Here we go. All right, let's
Look,
go. Story
probably
time.
one of
Kids,
the-
listen up.
Hey, this could be the difference between you making a return in future onto the podcast and never coming back.
Thank you. Look, one of probably the most funniest and most embarrassing for me would have been RBB trip to Melbourne.
Well, I thought we were going Hajduk here.
Wow.
Nah.
Okay.
Those ones were not embarrassed. I mean, there were a few things that I can't, like those ones that I can't translate, so it wouldn't be
All right.
But this one was,
What's your fan experience? Tell us.
Yeah, we came with the bus nice and early. Tired, slightly constipated.
Can you tell us what year this was?
Huh?
What year was this?
What year was
Johnny.
it?
That was
Was it
what,
2014?
That was my last
December.
15.
It was December 28th.
wasn't it?
It
Yeah.
was between Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah, that's correct. Because,
Remember-
A-League season gets played throughout summer.
I
Australian
can't remember
summer.
what year it was.
I can't remember either.
I believe it was
14 or 15?
14, maybe. No, I don't think it was 15.
No, it's 14.
I think it was
2014.
14.
Yeah,
Anyways,
could
go
be,
on.
Yeah. And so yeah, we decided to organize ourselves a little bit of, powder to come to help us with constipation. And in Melbourne, that's a bloody hard thing to get. So it took a long time till it got to us. Finally, it did. I made my way to the toilet.
Where was this at? Where were
In
you?
a pub. We
specifically?
were in a pub. We
Okay,
went
so
to
this
a
is-
bar.
This
this
was
is-
before the game.
So this
That's
is
before
so
the
this
game,
is in
nice
Melbourne,
and early, nice
playing
and
playing
early.
Melbourne victory.
Playing Melbourne.
And you
Victory.
went with the Wanderers fans too.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And there was like, maybe about 20 of, boys that met it, and the rest were just like families, and Anyway, so I went in the toilet, and as a responsible man, I told one of our friends, if something happens, call me.
So just to set the scene here a little bit,
Yeah.
because I know the game you're referring to. So
Yeah.
for those who didn't follow the A League back then or still don't, you know, the Wanderers had been in existence for 2 years. Melbourne Victory was the team in terms of active support and whatnot, and the Wanderers had just come into the scene and was the. So the Wanderers and Melbourne Victory were the two biggest rivals off the field.
Absolutely, yeah. And,
in terms of
just
size,
in a game that we played in Parramatta, we had to take their pub.
yeah.
So we kind of expected that something's going to happen. But
Some retaliation going to the away
Yes.
trip, and Melbourne Victory away trip was always a big trip,
always,
and
yeah,
always got
always.
big numbers
and,
down
and,
there.
And you know what? They always showed up too. I mean, heads to them, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, so while I was in the toilet, I could hear, minding my own business. Constipation.
Doing your
released.
business.
Yeah.
Relief.
Yeah, everything. Enjoying the medication, everything. I heard, how do you call them? Those, not firecrackers, what's it called? We used to throw those very loud, the bangers,
Bangers, yeah.
And I thought, well, these guys idiots, or why they're throwing them inside, But I thought I was enjoying myself too, so I didn't care really. Then another one, and then next thing you know, I just heard this lot of screaming. So my reaction was, first put everything away in a pocket, quickly put the pants up, run out. As I'm running, I'm thinking, fuck, I didn't wipe my ass. I run in to the pub, everyone's outside, I'm locked in. So by the time I bloody broke the door to get out, everything was finished, our boys won. I still forgot to wipe my ass. So after the game, we got escorted to the bus, had to go straight to Sydney. Remember, the police was following us. But by the time I came back to Sydney, my ass was like baboon's ass, fucking red and swollen.
So just to clarify, and this is just another addition to this story, for that specific game, the core of the group, or the main people involved in the group, or the organising group, whatever you want to call it, that decided to go down for that game, had decided that they would only go down for the game and come straight back. So not organise any hotels or any stay in Melbourne overnight, which generally would be the case. So there was a bus of around 50 odd people, a coach that was organised. So it was a round trip. The bus went from Marconi straight down to Victoria. We got to the pub. We were literally dropped off at the pub, spent the day. The incident happened, spent the game, finished the game, back onto the bus for another 8.5 to 9 hours, back to Marconi. Sweaty, disgusting, dirty, shitty asshole, Harry.
But when you got to the stadium, you didn't think, now that I'm here, I'm gonna go wipe my ass.
No, because then we were, going against the other guys, and the flares started popping up. I forgot about my ass. I didn't remember my ass till I came home, and I actually needed to go toilet again. I go,
16 hours later, you realise that.
And when you're trying to pull the undies down, and they're stuck.
Super
glued.
bro.
Yeah, man, half a skin went down. I'm telling you, it was disaster.
That is not the story I was expecting.
To be fair, at that stadium, considering what had happened pre-game, and that infamous brawl that occurred in the middle of I forget the street now. Was it Burke? Burke Street brawl. That's right. So in the middle of Burke Street, one of the major streets in Melbourne, CBD. It's sort of speaking of that camaraderie and that, it's sort of fired everyone up at the stadium in terms of chanting, in terms of carrying the team. And I think was it a draw that game, or
I think it was
1-1 draw, or we ended up winning. I don't recall.
We sang right through.
So isn't that the game that the Brazilian guy scored a free kick in the last?
No, that was 1-1. We were on the other side of the stadium. So this was at that was at Etihad Stadium, I believe. The 1-1 you're talking about, which was
Think what's his name left? Brazilian player
Brazilian
for Victory.
faggot, yeah. No, this was prior to that.
You don't like Brazilian players, I've noticed in the last few weeks.
Only Ronaldinho.
Okay.
And Ronaldo, R9. The rest can get fucked.
Okay.
But yeah, that just touches on that point of that camaraderie. So, when you go through the shit together, people sort of
literally
step up.
Literally through the shit.
Fucking part of the pun.
No, but it's normal, Like we had these. We used to call him Rolling Stones, the older guys, and I remember we will, like every city you stop to on the way to any game, see on the windows, make sure everyone knows, come out, try to steal something from kiosks, even if you don't need it, just to cause something. And I remember this time, this group of police came in and like, everyone get off the window, stop screaming, And anyway, this guy was like, whoa. Like I said, we used to call him Rolling Stones. So they would be stoned. They didn't even probably know they're going to the game. But they just saw these many people follow. And he was screaming, and the guy hit him, with the bat on the head. And his teeth fell out. But the train is moving, and he's like, like, well, what is it? We wanted to go for the teeth, ended up getting beat up by the cop because you're not following the orders. One time we were going to Banja Luka. I don't know, it just, you see this massive line. What's happening? In fact, this lady was traveling. And
people lined up. I was thinking of something else.
Like you're going toilet. No, it was a major gangbang. But the lady, well, I'll call her lady. But bro,
Lady of the night.
later we found out she was released from one of the local prisons and was, happy to see the men. So the boys were like giving a bit of money, $5, give a beer, a sandwich, whatever, and just pump up. And there was these curtains, on the train, and it would say JZ, which would like Yugoslavian Skoželjeznica, it's a Yugoslavian train, and it was this ugly green color. So one of the guys pulled it off, wanted to wipe his dick off. She goes, no, I'm gonna use that for the dress,
Oh my God.
But those were normal things that were happening on the train, gangbangs, or first time I saw girls putting a couple of flares in veggie, to bring it into the game. And I go,
Wow.
Okay, like, it was, look, I never thought that girls should be at the games anyway, but this was, at least they were proper mule, at least I had a bag,
In every sense of the word, yeah.
No, but like, look, there was always, and what you say, every time you get in any kind of shit, you stick together, and then you learn more and more, and then that's how it becomes, And look, don't forget, the areas there where I lived was a lot smaller, so I would see these guys all the time, And because we followed everything that, any sport in Zagreb, so I would on Saturday, Sundays usually were games, soccer, football. Then on Wednesday it's either hockey or handball or basketball at some stage till they kicked us off from basketball. We were not allowed to go to basketball. So you're always there. So you get to know, like you always live together, you're at each other's houses.
That's right.
Do you know what's going to happen now? We're going to stop recording, and then
There's gonna be some
Harry will
story.
come with the best stories.
Yeah,
That's
hey,
what
look, I
happened-
couldn't
what's
say this because I don't want to throw this
Yeah.
person. I don't want to expose
But I was
this
in a
person.
threesome with the president of Croatia or something. We'll throw in something ridiculous
Because
like that.
the girl was brought over by Silvio Berlusconi from Italy
Yeah.
when AC Milan came to play us.
Now that's what Mamic is doing now. He's releasing all the videos of judges he used to corrupt and who would do coke with him and fuck prostitutes and everything now.
Yeah,
So
because
blackmail.
because now he's going down, so he's like, well, fuck you. I'm
Jeffrey
gonna bring you
Epstein
down.
style.
Yeah, that's,
It's look, and you know what? That's another thing. I think Australia is overly too correct. Like, look, we know that it's hard to live in, let's go Argentina,
Yeah,
Croatia.
yeah.
But all that not normalness, it's kind of funny in a way too, because you just think, like looking at it from here, I'm thinking, how the fuck are they getting away with it? Everyone
Yeah.
knows that they're doing it, but they're still doing
The
it.
corruption and all that.
Oh, absolutely, and you know what? You're about to kill somebody, and then the game starts. You forget about it. You're watching game, and we'll hug it. Tomorrow you'll kill him.
yeah.
It's that's how much it
The
means.
power of football, eh?
Yeah, it is, and look, even me and Fadi are getting along.
Oh, and then Harry, before you kill Fatty, thanks for coming today.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed yourself. We certainly did.
Yeah, definitely good chat. Always a good chat to Harry. And, we've known Harry for, the best part of 9 years now?
Yeah.
8-9 years, but I would say that there's always a new story that I always think, how the fuck did I not know this story?
100%.
Yeah, well, you know what? Sometimes maybe we just have to have drinks when we're not. When I'm under pressure to watch what I say.
I didn't
And
realize
then
you're under
maybe
pressure at all.
you can edit it,
All right, how about next time we'll feed him a few tequila shots and about 6 beers before we start
It's gonna
recording.
have to be some hidden cam. Just keep it in the corner
Yeah,
without
so
him
I don't
knowing.
know, like, casually we're having a
It'll
drink.
just be off the cuff. He's not
Yeah.
prepared.
And then the day after, the cops will knock on his door.
Yeah, right. Your laptop are going to get seized. for fucking evidence.
Guys, thanks once again. And see you next week.
Thank you, Steve.
Take care.